Yo, what's good YouTube? It's boardzy, and this is going to be a review of the ASUS ROG Keris II Ace, ASUS's newest mouse, a SOM certified gaming mouse, and pretty much just another one of those small ergo mini EC styles of shapes. A shape it compares well with is the Pulsar X Lite, the medium size, which I feel like it's just a little bit smaller than. And yeah, I'd say a good way to look at this is the Death Adder V3 Mini that Razer refuses to make, similar like size and profile to the EC3 from Zowie. But yeah, this is just an ASUS mouse, and if you know what that means, you know what that means. But a lot of things this does get right. I will give it that. Like build quality, it's solid. This shell is made out of this nylon-based biomaterial. Wait, I want to get that right because I've heard it like 5 million times in reviews. Yeah, ultralight 54-gram design using bio-based nylon material. And what that means is it's just like a chalky coating. This is not going to be like a rubberized matte coating. It does have, they advertise the PBT button, so I don't know if that's nylon-based, environmentally friendly, but it honestly feels fucking pretty similar to the rest of the mouse, if not maybe a little bit less grippy. And they do have these ridges on the side, which is just so interesting. I honestly, I saw them, I felt them, and I put on grips. I was like, I'm not going to deal with this, but it's not terrible. Like, you can scratch it, you can like file your nails, like make music with the ridges, but for me, they just don't feel great. Like, they do add a little bit of grippiness compared to the like base material, but I would just recommend putting grip tape over it. ASUS seems very stubborn, like against using a standard rubberized coating, so I mean, I guess you just got to live with that. If you're getting this mouse and you do like that chalkier feeling, then you won't have it on the sides of the mouse. So it's like, is there a winner? I don't know, because in my opinion, what feels the worst about the coating is just the fact that it's so like slippery. There's just no like grippiness where you're actually going to be like resting your palm if you either claw or palm grip this mouse. So I just find it not like sitting in my hand as well. Like, even though it is a little bit higher profile than something like the EC3, Zowie's smallest size, I still just feel more locked in with how I'm able to grip the mouse and just like keep it in my hand. So is ASUS going to like let you down? Not necessarily, but I just still, at $160, I don't think this is just the most premium feeling like grip, finish, all of that in hand. But yeah, I didn't want to start a coating rant, and it's by no means like an ungrippable, unusable mouse, but it's just so interesting to me that literally every other company, even Razer, Logitech, Zowie, Pulsar, Endgame Gear, Vaxi, etc., like they're all switching to rubberized coatings. But ASUS is just like, no, we have it figured out, we're doing our own thing, and you know, God bless them, God bless the environment. But yeah, now moving on beyond that, like I said, the build quality of the shell is impressive. There's like really no flex, no matter how hard I like reasonably squeeze. I don't even check for bottom flex, any of that, but yeah, nothing, no creaking, rattling. The shell actually does feel solid. The mouse feels premium. The clicks, they're a bit iffy in my opinion. They are using optical switches. I believe it's ASUS's first time using opticals, and there's no issue with the latency, like deviation in like actuation force, which is something ASUS is very adamant about. And it's like, yes, these do feel the same, but they feel like Razer V1 opticals. They do just have this like dull, mushy feeling, especially when I click towards the top, which I often do because it is like a shorter, small ergo, and it just doesn't feel great. If I'm going to be completely honest, I'll do a sound test compared to Pulsar's opticals, which I mean, people often dog on, but mine feel good on my X Lights, and then Razer's opticals. There's just much more like distinct tactility. Like, some people will understand when I'm playing a clicking scenario with these, they just like they go dull. Like, I don't even notice that I'm clicking. I'm relying more on like my finger than actually feeling it from the mouse button itself. And it is very light, it's spammable, and they're going to be consistent, but there is just like a lot of, as you can see, there's some like pre-travel, so when you actually activate the click, there's not a lot of tactility. It's just not the best feeling optical implementation. It's something that companies like Razer have moved on from, like, to a new generation of switches. And I didn't watch all of the other reviews. I don't know if my unit is possibly a dud, but if I do like fingertip this mouse and I click a bit higher up, I still do get that feeling, but there is a little bit stiffer of an experience. Like, I don't know, it just feels slightly more standard, but still just not the best optical implementation. My left click has like loosened up a little bit. I don't think this is concerning, but out of the box it was similar to my right click, which has like no play whatsoever. So I mean, it's just worth noting, it's not going to be, once again, just the most premium feeling click experience. I can't stress enough, like, there's just not a lot of like total travel distance in general. But yeah, they feel low latency. It's all good in that regard for 90% of mouse click users nowadays. And yeah, I feel like I've spent a good amount of time on just a few features, but I just wanted to cover them in detail because I feel like ASUS, they just do their mice differently. So I just want to cover it. Like, this is just not going to feel like your run-of-the-mill ergo mouse, and it's likely going to be a little bit more expensive compared to all of them besides maybe a Death Air V3 Pro. But yeah, one shape that this is like noticeably bigger than is the X-Lite V3 size 1, the mini. So that is just like the thinnest fucking smallest ergo mouse ever. So yeah, this will feel noticeably wider, taller than that. Like the EC2, it just feels significantly smaller than. It's obviously much lighter. The weight is a good feature of the mouse at 54 grams. Like I have no issues with it really. The weight balancing doesn't feel off. It feels light in motion, and yeah, if like the size to weight ratio, there's really no issues. This is one of the lighter ergos. It's not like the lightest on the market. Not that just like having that fucking number really matters. But yeah, you guys get what I'm saying. The weight feels good in hand. But yeah, now getting back to the shape, I do feel like this is pretty safe, especially for people, let's say you have like small to medium sized hands. This should be a pretty safe ergo for any grip style. Obviously, I'm not recommending it for fingertip, but pulling it off isn't impossible. But just with the really high left button, it's like, I don't know why anybody would want that for fingertip. The right side is a feature that they advertise as having a lot of like room, good for mobility, and I can vouch that. Like, finger placement on the sides is really good. The left side doesn't feel as like aggressively curved as some other mice, and just overall it does feel kind of flat. It just feels like it gives up on being like high profile at this point on the mouse, and then it's just like a very aggressive slope down, as opposed to something like Zowie where it's just like a bit more natural and kind of just like fucking fits my hand at least. I don't know. And yeah, here it is between the EC3 and the EC2. I think it lines up well in terms of size between these mice. You can see it's a little bit wider, just a larger mouse than the EC3, but I do feel like it's closer in size, whereas the EC2, it's just kind of massive in comparison. Like, it feels much higher profile in hand. Anybody who tells you this is an EC2 clone, I don't think anybody really would. But yeah, it's just not in my opinion. But something like the Death Adder V3 Pro is just massive in comparison. It is a better fit for my hand size personally. And I have noted the $160 price on this, but you do get a very good like tech solution. You get a 4K dongle included. I'm not trying to say this is a fucking bargain, but yeah, that is something worth noting. And the way they have it set up is through this like Omni super receiver. I don't know what they call it, but you gotta plug like 80 things into each other, and then you get a 4K wireless polling rate and 8K through wired mode. I haven't tested the 8K wired mode. Let's be real, nobody's spending $160 on this to use it wired first. I mean, I'm sure the wired connection is good, but yeah, I've been using this mouse wirelessly and I've had no issues with the Omni super receiver setup. I have had to charge this mouse once in like just over a week of use, and considering I was on higher polling rates, I felt like that was pretty good. And yeah, in general, I don't really have anything to note about the sensor experience or the software, aside from the fact that I'm not a big fan of Armory Crate. I saw they did make a like lighter version supposedly, but I went to download that and then it was just standard Armory Crate. So either I did something wrong or they're just trolling. I'm gonna go on the side of I did something wrong. But yeah, they do advertise this sensor at 42,000 DPI, which is around 6,000 DPI higher than it was on the Harp Ace, which I believe is using the same sensor since it is compatible with the same 4K dongle if you do a firmware update. So yeah, if anybody is pushing the barriers in terms of high DPI usage, this mouse is currently the highest DPI on the market, I believe. But yeah, other than that, this is a Shroud approved mouse. As you can see, I'm using the ROG ruler mousepad, and I do have the Surface specifically calibrated on this sensor. So I'm getting a better mouse input than a lot of you guys can even fucking imagine, mix matching brands and shit. It's actually kind of sickening. But yeah, performance wise, there's not a single issue. They do offer angle tuning as well, which is obviously a useless feature to a lot of people, but it is cool to kind of like open access to a few more sensor features. It is done in-house, but it's obviously based off of a PixArt sensor. And I don't believe this is a 3950 implementation, even though Razer's exclusivity on that has ended. But yeah, if there's one thing that ASUS does get right, it is like just their tech solution. There's really nothing for me to say, so it's kind of surprising that I've spent so much time talking about it. The Bluetooth, they have Bluetooth as well. That's the quickest I've ever covered a feature. There's a DPI button, then a pairing button on the bottom. The skates are good. They obviously provide like the larger Zowie style skates in the box, but even these like 4-corner skates with just like a unique design that you don't really see on every mouse, I don't have any issue with it. This pad, which I remember being a little bit slower, plays much faster. And yeah, now one of the last features to cover, and just a minor gripe I have with the mouse, is going to be the side buttons. They claim on the website that these are perfectly placed. I do find them to be a bit small and a bit high up on the mouse. Like if you do palm grip, I think they're in a pretty good place, but in general, like, I don't know, it's just like, this is one of those like you versus the guy she tells you not to worry about memes. Like, I don't know, the Death Adder V3, Zowie's side button positioning and size, I just feel like it's all better. These aren't like unusable, like super heavy, not spammable for Fortnite. I do think they are a little bit on the heavier end in terms of like activation, but maybe that's something that will loosen up over time. But yeah, I just don't think that these are like the perfect side button positioning. If they made them like super fucking large, then maybe, but I do understand this is a smaller mouse. But yeah, it just is what it is. I wouldn't say these are going to be the best side buttons for Fortnite, but not unusable either. The grip tape they provide out of the box isn't as grippy as something like BTL grips, but it gets the job done, and I am definitely a bigger fan of the grip tape than these fucking ridges on the side. I just took it off, obviously, for video purposes. And yeah, I think really the last thing to cover is the scroll wheel, which just feels very average. Maybe it's a little bit low on the shell, but I don't think so. It is also a little bit low profile, but I don't know. That's the least of your worries. Overall, at the $160 price, I don't think this is a bad mouse for the small ergo market. I don't think it's like just taking the market by storm, a mouse without flaws that is just like perfect in every aspect. Absolutely not. But I mean, it's a solid offering from ASUS, probably to this point their best mouse, my favorite from them. I would definitely rather just go with the mini ergo than the Harp Ace, but obviously that's just a matter of preference. In terms of availability right now, I don't think it's very good. Like, I saw this mouse was on like Newegg only. It's not on like Amazon, ASUS directly. I don't really know how they sell their mice, but I would presume maybe wait and then it will be available more places. Maybe a second batch with some updates could be a real banger, but overall, I didn't play bad with this mouse. The performance on it's not bad, but they're just like, it's an ASUS mouse at the end of the day. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Any other questions, feel free to let me know in the comments. Any other like ergo comparisons, even though I feel like I covered most of the mice that this is going to be similar to. But yeah, that's going to be all. Peace out.